Welcome back to Midwesternheads podcast. We got Daniel Evans on the show today.
What is up?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right.
Good. Been playing a lot of music?
Yeah, I mean, somewhat. I'm in two bands, as we talked about last time. Devil's Den and Contrast. I don't think I was in Contrast the last time I was on here.
Right.
But I play drums in that band, which is cool. We've been preparing for a tour we have, like at the very end of this month, starting next month. We're going out for 9 days. We're doing like a Midwestern run, which is cool.
First tour, you said? Or is it your first tour with that band?
First, yeah.
Okay.
Basically, first tour. But I was gonna say Contrast has been a band for a while, but they played like one at a town show and like 3 shows before I was in the band, I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Who else in that band?
So it was Antonio Marquez, who sings in Spine, and Jada Westfall, who's in like every band that I'm in.
Multiple bands.
Yeah, and Max Cheney, who's in like every band that I'm in. And then Taylor Paredes, but he quit the band, so then I joined the band, and now I play drums.
What's that like?
What do you mean?
Versus playing guitar or bass?
It's weird. I had never like played drums in a band before, so I kind of when the opportunity was given to me to join that band, I wanted to play drums. I never played drums before, and I was like, I think I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's weird only because I had never done it before. So usually, if somebody asks me to play bass in a band, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know I can do it. They're like, hey,
without question,
I want to play this type of music, and it's just like, yes.
Cool.
Doesn't matter what it is, and figure out what it is.
Right.
But if you ask me to play something that not only did I not really like, I knew how to play. It's like difficult to explain, but I wasn't like good at it, not like super confident.
Yeah, I remember you just kind of like noodling mostly, like kind of jacking around.
Well, but drums is also a weird thing where like if you're in a room with like 5 people, you have to just be noodling, especially if you don't know what you're doing, because if you like sit down and try and like play some shit, it's so fucking loud.
Yeah.
And if you're fucking up, you're pissing everyone off.
Right.
Like no one is like, drums are not an understandable instrument to be learning, really.
Right.
Because no one is like sympathetic of you, you know what I'm saying? If you're like a kid and you're learning violin, everyone's pissed off. Yeah. And violin isn't even like that loud. Mm-hmm. So with drums, especially like playing aggressive music, there's not a ton of dynamics going on. It's just like everything is loud as fuck, everything is fast. So it took a few times of me like going up and playing just like by myself and getting confident and playing fast and like listening to what people do feel wise and paying attention to how they will contextualize something into what you're doing. Because the other weird thing about drums is I mean, you get to where you play the same thing every time, but when you're first learning a song, especially if it's something where you're writing it from scratch, you have to like make everything up, and it might change every time. Because like sometimes I'll be playing and depending on where we have a song in the set, it'll be like I'll have a lot of stamina, you know what I'm saying? So I can be playing something and maybe I'll do like a crazier fill than I normally would, and people will turn around and they'll be like, dude, you should do that fill more. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Like if you remember to do that again.
Well, yeah, and I'll remember to do it, but the next time maybe I'll just like fuck it up really bad, and because like we put the song at a different point in the set or something, and then that becomes like super laborious to try and do that again, because it's just like you're worn the fuck out.
I never really think about that, like how through a set it probably just destroys the person playing drums. Like by the end, unless you're super used to it, I guess, but I'm sure starting out is like,
oh yeah, I'm like out of shape, and like I'm not like good, I guess, so it's like
an aerobic exercise almost.
It can be like tough.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, so like with bass, like you know what you're playing every time. You like learn the song once, and then that doesn't change. Because if it changes the entire song.
Right.
But like with drums, the way that you'll explain parts is, okay, you play the scissor beat 2 times, and then you go into the tom beat, you know, like a scissor. Okay. That's like a scissor beat.
Yeah.
And then you'll go into like a tom, the tom part. I put that in quotes because it's not like determined, you know what I'm saying?
It's
so
just play toms here.
Yeah, and sometimes they're like, yeah, so just come up with a tom part. Right. Like, fuck, okay, so like
It's been like every drummer I've ever talked to. Everyone's like, just come up with something.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, like this, and everyone's like, yeah, do that, and then you have to just figure out how to make that like a comfortable thing.
Right.
And then you have to build transitions out of everything. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's weird because I don't know if you're playing guitar, somebody wrote a song and you just learn what they're playing, or if you're playing bass, you just play the root notes to whatever someone else is playing.
Right.
But with drums, it's just, I don't know, it's different.
Yeah.
It's unique. I kind of like it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the last time we had you on the show, it was like more, we were kind of talking about your bands and stuff, and it was like the people who you like hang out with and stuff, I'm sure listen to it and like they know what you're talking about. I was hoping you could like explain the entire, I mean, you don't have to go super into it if you don't want to, but people who don't know about like Kansas City hardcore and punk and the like kind of, I guess, I don't know what the other scene would be called, but the more like the stuff Spellbook played in, is more like indie, like alternative stuff, but a lot of those guys play in the hardcore bands, like if you could explain it like for like a 5-year-old, how would you do that? Because some people just don't know about it.
When you say explain it, what do you mean?
Just the whole scene, the whole underground like music scene, really, like that you're the part that you're like involved in. Does that make sense? Like somebody who doesn't know anything about this, like some people literally don't know that it even exists.
So like how we do things, or
just what? Like how it works, like what it's like, what are shows like? I mean,
even just describe like just a show you've been to in the past,
right? Like a hardcore kind of show.
A good example of like what the crowd is like, how people behave.
So first things first, I'll say the funny thing about the shows that we play is they're all different, and we can like gauge how big or small a show is going to be before we play it, you know. So like not every show is created equal, I guess, and it depends on who books it, and like where it is, and the bands that are on it will dictate who's going to come to the show. And there's like a bunch of different clicks that you have to account for, you know what I'm saying? So like you'll book a show that's like maybe like a more youth crew band, right? And you know, okay, well the kids who listen to like the more beatdown bands aren't probably going to come to this, so we got to put a local band that's going to attract those kids on it, and then we got it, you know what I'm saying? Or then it's
like a well-rounded bill kind of thing. Yeah.
Or then it's like, okay, well this show is going to be at a venue that it's expensive for us to book shows at, so we have to make sure that there's a lot of kids here, so we have to plan this way out in advance and to get the most amount of people there, because we have to make sure that we have to pay the you know what I mean? Yeah. And like that will affect like the urgency of how things are booked, I guess. And then sometimes there'll be a band that comes through, and the weird thing about like underground music or like hardcore music or punk or literally whatever kind of music it is if you're just a band who no one knows or not a lot of people know, right, and you're coming to a town, we're not going to book you at like Davies,
right,
because we're going to lose money. And the money that we're going to lose isn't like an abstract amount of money. It's like literally Jacob Westfall, who agreed to book your show, is going to have to take money out of an ATM to give you money.
Right.
And it's not a slush fund, you know, a fund that we've like collect. It's like literally just his money that he just made
like at his
serving.
Job. Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll have that at like a house show, and house shows are kind of foreign to people, to a lot of people, because they don't. What do you mean you just play a show at a house?
Right.
You know what I mean? Well, we were gonna like.
Yeah, it sounds crazy when you tell people that have never like been to one. They're like.
Yeah, like a couple weeks ago. I don't remember where we were gonna have this. We were gonna have this show at. So there's a. It's not like a punk house, but it's our friend Max Van Tilburg's house. It's called Middle East, and I think I've been there. Just has this basement.
Is it like cobble? Like super cobbly? Like,
most of them are, but I don't know if you have been to this place, but it is.
The one I was in, I was like just standing there, and I sunk in through the floor into like the earth. Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah, there
was like
one.
Bubbled concrete. I don't know if that was his house. Yeah, there was. I don't even.
Kansas City basements, dude.
Yeah, there's. I mean, it was probably like 150-year-old basement or something.
It was supposed to be at Middle East, okay, and it was our friends from Houston, Permanent Control, United Races, and Erupt, okay, and Shout out to all those guys. Fucking love those guys. They're so good. So it's supposed to be in Middle East. And the thing with Middle East is it's kind of in a part of town that isn't the best for getting kids from the suburbs into the city.
Right.
It's literally like you could throw a rock and hit the place where Precious Doe's head was found.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like not in a great place. But it rocks, and like there's nothing bad that happens there. It's just like if you're trying to get kids from the suburbs to come to that, their parents are like, "No, you can't."
Yeah.
No.
Like that's where they.
The show's starting at 9. No, you can't go there. Right. So then you're like, okay, Middle East comes with its own unique challenges, right? But it's like cheap or free, you know.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that's like there's like pros and cons you have to constantly be weighing for booking shows. And also, if I'm getting way off topic,
no, you're fine.
Okay,
yeah, you're good.
So but the pipes burst in Middle East because it's one of those really old bases, and it was when it was like just so cold,
like 2 degrees outside.
Colder.
Yeah.
It was when it was like negatives like every day. So the pipes burst, so we can't have it there. So the day of, we're like, yo, we need this show anywhere. Can anyone please help us out? And Tyler Young, do you remember Tyler Young?
Yeah.
He was like, you can have it in my house. And he lives off Forest or something. Like, so it's a more centralized location, but he also knows people that wouldn't usually come to our shows. Right? So the cool thing about having it there was he was like, hey, show up my house tonight, come through. Or whatever he did, you know what I'm saying? And people that might not even... They're literally just like, I love live music type people. They're just showing up because there's music and a place to hang out.
Right.
And then we can still have all of our people come to it. So we ended up, like, getting a ton of money to give to those bands.
That's cool.
But it's because all of that came together. But places like that, we can't just always have shows at, you know? You can't just always hit up Tyler Young because, you know, he, like, lives in this place. So it's a constant, like... it's like a weird game, you know what I'm saying? You have to like strategize and figure out where these are going to be and like how you're going to, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's...
You're basically an organizer at that point, like a whole event organizer.
Yeah, and I don't do most of that, and I don't want to pretend like I do that, but that is how the people who move and shake and make things happen in Kansas City, that is the things that they have to consider when they're like booking a show.
I was wondering too, what's like the average age group of like a span of ages?
It depends.
Most people.
It depends on where the show is.
Probably depends a lot on the bands too, I'm sure.
Depends on the bands and where the show is. Because there's a lot of shows that have been happening in Raytown where like high school kids who like their parents drop them off to like people older than us go to shows, right? But in the city, we have a hard time getting younger kids to come to shows. And that's like what we're trying to overcome right now is figure out like, what are we doing wrong? You know what I'm saying? Or what's happening that is not getting young kids to shows? Because like we obviously were coming to shows since we were like 13 and 14, right? Where are those kids? I don't know any 13-year-olds. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, and whenever we were going to shows when we were kids, it was at like churches. So I'm like, hey, Mom, can you drop me off at this church? And she's like, yes.
The thing with that that's difficult is there are 13-year-olds out there that want to be involved with music like this, right? Yeah. You can get through to these kids, but it's like I'm not going to go flyer a fucking middle school.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's like weird. So it's like there are other towns though, in Louisville, there's this guy, or he might live in Cincinnati, I don't know. His name's Trey, and he's my friend Brian's little brother, right?
Okay.
And I think he just turned 15, I think. But he's like on Twitter, and like I interact with him from like time to time. But like, if anybody that we knew had a Trey, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He could go, you know what
like
I'm saying? Because music is like cool, right? And like kids think music is cool.
Right.
And not only that, kids are cool.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like this is a weird popularity contest. Like I tell Trey all the time, like, dude, start a band.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm not as good as any of you. Dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, because then that kid's in a band and he's at school and he's like, hey, my band has a show. And then they're...
Well, not even that. Not even like a selfish way, but like he could... I don't know. Just like you're never too young to like start doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we also are... I think we can sometimes get a little in our heads about who is cool and who is not, and why are these people coming to shows and why aren't these other people coming to shows?
Right.
But yeah, it's difficult because then the more like elitist you get, whether you mean to or not. You're sitting there and there's like 7 people at this show and you're like, where is everybody?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, well, what are we doing to get people there? Right. So I think that's the thing that separates like underground music from the mainstream, is like most of these bands, like as much as I love Erupt and United Races and all those bands, or Devil's Den or Contrast or any band you can think of that is in the scene, like you have to think, why would people want to come see us? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What have we done to get people to come see us? And especially if you're in a town where you don't know a ton of people, and it's like hard. Like hardcore isn't all that popular.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
At least when compared to other music. So you have to get people who are coming just to come to see the music, and then it's like they just come because there is music.
It's almost like you have to get them there first, and then they decide after they're already there whether they like it or not.
Yeah, because I think we talked about this very minorly. Think about how many kids came to shows when we were younger and how many still go.
Right.
Yeah.
Dude, so many drop off and figure out, this isn't for me, or like, but at the time they're coming and it's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like the retention, like how do we get these kids to stay? Or like, not even necessarily that, because at the end of the day, it's like whoever's choice, you know? I don't want to force anyone to stay, and I don't want it to be like a contrived thing where someone's staying because
they feel like they have to for some reason.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. How do you get the people there?
You almost have to make such a big impact on them while they're there, on like some kind of deep emotional level, so that they're like kind of hooked into it.
Yeah. I remember feeling that as a kid too.
But it's tough though, because at the same time, I don't sometimes I just want to fucking talk to anybody.
Yeah.
You know? Why?
I mean, it's not your responsibility, or it shouldn't be, but...
It isn't, but it is. Yeah. But it's also has to happen naturally, but it's, I don't know, it's just really confusing. Yeah. So that's what I would say about what's cool and weird and hard about underground music, is it's just like, I don't know.
No one really knows what it is.
Yeah.
It's just...
And anybody and everybody kind of fits into it too.
We have no idea. You know what I mean? I could talk to you accurately about how this happens, but at the same time, we're all just flailing, trying to figure this thing out. Yeah.
I was just I had that thought last night. I was kind of writing some like stuff to like talk to you about and stuff. But I just had the thought of like how there's probably so many people that have no idea that this scene even exists. They think that this type of thing only exists in like movies.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean?
Well, the other thing is, I'll talk about how bands start, right?
Yeah, and I want to hear from like your point, like what it's like to be at a hardcore punk show, because I remember like going to my first one and I had no idea that that's like what it was. I mean, it was like terrifying. I was like 14. So
the cool thing about, I remember my first one too. The funny thing about hardcore shows or like punk shows or metal shows or whatever it is that's underground is you get there, and this is something that I've said to you 100 times, and you've probably thought of this too. And I think I probably might have even used this as an example in the last podcast, but the best way to describe a lot of them is they're exactly where you told your mom you weren't going. Yeah. And where she didn't want you to be going.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the time we have pretty like lax shows, like people be pitting and stuff, but they're in like dirty basements and stuff like that. There's some punk shows that can get kind of like more nefarious and nasty. Like no one's doing any bad shit, but it can get kind of weird. But like the loft show you went to, we used to have this a person named Annie lived in this loft in the Bottoms, and I don't know, the way that they would rent lofts is they would rent off like entire floors or half floors. So it was just like an empty loft space, and we're not talking like concrete nice lofts. We're talking about like an old factory.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
You know what I'm saying? That like has a rickety elevator that goes up to it.
Is that how you guys got all the stuff up there?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought because I remember walking up like 30 flights of stairs to get up there.
Yeah. No, there's a freight elevator.
There's no like heat in the building or like anything.
Yeah. And the way that they lived there is they just like basically took wood and framed off 3 rooms.
Yeah.
And they had like a bathroom and all this stuff.
Wow.
But there was like this enormous middle space where you could play, and there was like a PA set up.
It was huge. Like, this place was huge.
It was huge, and we would pack it out. It was like a really cool venue.
There being a ton of people.
And it's the West Bottom, so nobody gives a shit. But there's like, in this spot, like 100 people. And I remember it was a Blindside Spine show you were at, and like Blindside and Spine were both covering all kinds of shit, and like Johnny and Antonio were going crazy, and people were just fucking slamming their asses off.
Yeah.
Like hitting hard, and it was nuts. And that's one of those times where you just look around and you're like, dude, I hope I remember this forever.
I remember
this
you
is
guys.
crazy.
Yeah. I remember everybody in the band's like looking around, just like, oh my god.
Yeah. And there's a video of it. Antonio like films them. And I don't know if the videos do it justice when you're there because it's so visceral.
Yeah.
Like, you can watch somebody, like, getting slammed into on the side, but when you're the guy that someone just, like, punched in the face or, like, just threw to the ground or something, it's, like, insane. Like, adrenaline's just on 100%, you know?
Yeah.
People, like, go their entire lives and, like, remember one time in the grocery store where they got mouthy with somebody and their energy was just and they were just so
Ready
mad.
to
Oh,
fight,
they could
yeah.
have done something. I would have done something. But this is like, yo, every weekend we're going and we're doing that.
Yeah.
And that is, you know what I'm saying? It's like that visceral, you know? But it isn't like at anybody, you know?
Yeah, it's just like an outward.
So a lot of the kids that are involved in this is like they are like the freaks. They are like the rejects. They're the kids that feel like that all the time, that wish that they could do something and do in some cases, and are like these pieces of shit kids, or so society says.
Yeah.
And then they come here to shows, and that is the time to be aggressive and do all of that shit.
Kind of just let it all out.
Taylor Paredes can take off a shoe and start beating the shit out of his friends and like literally hitting me in the face with his shoe, but it's like funny and everyone's laughing.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, there's
and
always
it's
kind
like,
of a comedic feel going on.
So I would say like that's the funny thing is like you might go to your first show and you don't know what's going on and you get hit in the face and you're real pissed and you have no idea what's going on, but everyone's laughing, and then you start going more and you realize, hey, I don't hate this. There's something weird about this. If this was anyone else hitting me in the face, I'd be really pissed off, but this is awesome.
Yeah. It's kind of an excuse just to be a little bit ignorant and just let it go, you know?
No, that's the thing is like you go to work 7 days a week and you have all these aggressions.
Yeah.
And in some cases, they're people that are inherently aggressive people. You know what I'm saying?
Most people, I would say
so
like
instead
a lot
of
of
like
people that are
whooping
listening.
someone's ass, you go there and it's just aggressive, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's in the air when you get there.
Yeah, but not. It's not necessarily,
it's
but
not, if you're not looking to be aggressive, you're probably not going to just start punching people.
Right.
Yeah, and it's weird because I am just throwing it around like everyone's just like punching everybody. And that's not what
it's
it is.
It's not always like that.
It isn't like that a lot. It's like weird because imagine if you were watching like Planet Earth and someone's explaining to you what's going on, but if David Attenborough wasn't there explaining to you the stuff that was going on, you know what I mean? You would have no idea. Like if I was showing you a video and you are just not seeing you're not seeing the forest for the trees, right? You're just like looking at all of this stuff and you have no idea what's going on.
It's way too
and you're
much.
just looking at all these crazy people. I could point out who's being the asshole and who's being fine and who looks goofy and who's doing, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's what it's like, I guess. You know?
Yeah.
So you just have to like people watch until you just know what's going on, and even then you don't really know what's fully going on because
One
it's
thing
all relative.
I kind of noticed just from most of the people that I've met that are involved in that scene, they're all just fucking hilarious people.
Yeah.
Some of the funniest people I've met.
Yeah. I feel like I'm not funny when I'm around those people, and I feel like I don't want to say anything because it's not going to be like funny.
I think my friends are the funniest fucking people.
Yeah, they are, man.
Yeah, it's definitely fucking. I don't know how to describe it, and I don't know if that's like true on a macro level, you know, or maybe I just got really lucky with my friends and we all just have fantastic senses of humor.
Yeah,
but like,
Could be.
Dude, being in the van with like Jacob and Max and Tunks and David and like whoever else happens to find their way in our van is like, oh my god, there's some insane stuff happening.
I bet.
And it's not too insane, you know, we're not doing like crazy shit, but like at the same time, I guess we are.
You kind of are, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really bad, I guess, when I compare myself to other people, because then I'm like, whoa, we are doing crazy shit. What the hell's going on?
You definitely are.
Here, are you familiar with What Are the Odds?
No. Maybe if you explain it.
So this is going to be kind of difficult to explain, but I'm going to try and explain it because I might not do it very well. But a lot of bands do this, and like friend groups do this. But you just pick some crazy outlandish thing, and you say, what are the odds that I slam this yerba mate right here? So what are the odds that I just chug this entire thing? And then I would ask you that. And you would say 1 in whatever. You know what I'm saying? So if you really don't want me to do that, or if you really want me to do that, you know what I'm saying? You'd say like 1 in 3 or something.
Yeah.
Right?
You give them really good odds for it.
So you say 1 in 3. And then somebody counts down, third party counts down, and we both have to say a number, right? So you said 1 and 3. We have to say a number between 1 and 3, right? So do it really quick. We won't actually play.
Say what again? Say it again.
What are the odds that I slam this right now?
1 to 3.
1 to 3. Okay. Count down.
3, 2, 1.
2. We have to both say a number
Okay.
when he counts down. So we go 2.
Okay.
Or you would say 1 or something.
Okay.
If we both say the same number,
okay.
right? If we
Yeah.
both say the same number, I have to do it, right?
Okay.
But if we say some sort of combination of a number that adds up to the full number, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
if I said 2 and you said 1 and it was like 3 or something, you would have to do it. You know?
Yeah.
But if I lose and I don't want to do it, you can smack me as hard as you can in the stomach.
Sounds like fun.
Like one time we were at we were in Kentucky, and my friend Garrett, we were in like a hotel that had like a really horrible breakfast bar, like fucking awful. And there was a tip jar that had just $1 lonely dollar in it
That they put in there. when
Yeah,
they set it up.
exactly. And Garrett goes, "What are the chances that you take the money from that tip jar?" And I said like 1 in 3 or something, and he lost. And he goes, "Dude, I can't do that." So I smacked him in the stomach. And he was like, "I don't want to do that." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like one band, What Are the Odds? And it was Alex G's band had to do this. The bassist had to play the first song of the set on his knees.
Oh.
Yeah, so he's like just on his knees playing bass. For the
And
first song.
everyone's like
You know what I
wondering
mean?
why the fuck
And
he's doing that.
it can be literally anything.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, if you
play those odds, though, you're in.
yeah.
If you're like, yeah, I'm feeling froggy, I'll just like,
What are the odds is
50-50.
binding?
Yeah.
And the thing that's fucked up is like towards the beginning, people aren't usually into What Are the Odds, but you did a few days in, and people are
you get hooked on it.
yeah. Like me and Tunks are doing a What Are the Odds, and if I lose on tour, I have to wear an extra small T-shirt. I think I don't remember what pants I have to wear, but I have to wear an extra small T-shirt. And if he loses, he has to wear a 3X T-shirt and Antonio's jeans.
And Antonio's like probably a foot taller than him.
Yeah.
At least.
Like 34 jeans.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Which is pretty incredible.
Going back to what you were talking about earlier, you were talking about how you wanted to explain like how these bands kind of get started.
So, I'll say my origin story into the scene that I'm in now.
There you go.
And I'll say how that relates to how we start bands now, I guess.
Just do it.
So, I remember I was at your house one day, and we had this friend Thomas Hoffman, who he liked hardcore and stuff. Love you, Thomas. Yeah, you're the reason I'm here, Thomas.
Right.
And you were like showing me music that Tom liked.
I was?
Do you remember? Yeah, you were like, he likes this band Trapped Under Ice.
Okay.
And I was like, and you and Tyler were kind of making fun of Trapped Under Ice. You guys were like, yeah, it's
pretty rough.
Yeah, we don't like it.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is it? Let me hear it. And you showed me, and I was like, dude, I like this.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that.
Yeah, and you guys were like, what? I mean, I guess. I mean, it's fine. And then Tom came over, and I was like, hey, I like Trapped Under Ice. Like, can you take me to, or show me, like, other stuff
Right.
that you
show me
like?
stuff like that.
Yeah. So then he was like, I'll take you to shows. So then he took me to, like, a show at the Sidecar where we saw Ringworm, and just through that, he was figuring out that I actually, okay, this kid likes this stuff. So then Tunks wanted to start a band with Tom, or Tom wanted to start a band with Tunks or something. And Tom was like, Daniel's going to play bass. And Tunks was like, who the fuck is this kid?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean he's going to play? Like, I don't even fucking know him.
So he
And Tom-
just vouched for you straight away.
Yeah. And Tom was like, shut the fuck up. This guy's going to play
Yeah.
bass. Like,
Yeah.
that's
He
what's
just
going to
knew.
happen.
He was like,
yeah.
fit in. It's gonna work.
So I came and I was playing, and it was fine. And Tunks eventually was like my friend. He would like relentlessly. That was when I had hair similar to this, but it was like three
Real
times
bushy.
as big.
Yeah. Oh, I remember.
And he would just relentlessly make fun of me. You know what I'm saying? For like my hair, it was like a hazing period essentially. But then I just figured out that the way you make music is somebody has an idea, and not everybody has to be fully 100% contributing creatively, but like you just go off of whoever has the idea, right? So like, yo, Tom wanted to start a band like this. Austin Hale he had songs, so then we just came together and everybody played the songs that Austin wrote or Tunch wrote or whatever.
It's almost sorry to interrupt.
No,
it's almost like whenever you have a group of people like that, they're all just trying to get whatever idea comes out of anyone to flourish. They're just trying to get everyone else.
Yeah, I feel like conventionally, the way people think bands start is I want to start a band that sounds like Lynyrd Skynyrd. And then you go, I want to start a band that sounds like The Police. And then you want to start a band that sounds like...
I would be The Police, though.
Yeah. Then I want to start a band that sounds like Rage Against the Machine. And then we come together and we all, with those diverse influences, have to make this bastard band.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You got to make it work.
And that happens sometimes, and sometimes really good bands come from that. But more often than not, what happens is you just go into a basement somewhere and no one likes everybody's ideas, but everyone's trying to force their own ideas, and it's just like kind of bad, right?
Oh, yeah.
What we do, once you get your core group of people that are all on the same page, you know, hey, we like generally the same music, you know what I'm saying? Or let's start this band, Like, when they started Blindside, they were like, we want to start a New York hardcore type band. It sounds like Breakdown. So then they did. And they did that for 2 years. Yeah. And then with Devil's Den, we were like, we want a fucking fast, hard punk band. So then they did it, you know, and in contrast, Max and Jake were like, we want to start a band that sounds like Integrity. So they did it. And that's what you do, basically, is like you have your group of friends and somebody wants to start a band that sounds like something or whatever. Maybe not that specific, but hey, I want to start a band that sounds like this. Right. And you write 4 songs without anyone else. Maybe with other people, but generally it's easier if it's without anybody else. You come to practice. Max goes, hey, I have this song. Here's how it goes. Hey, Tunks, I want a scissor beat into a tom part, into like a D beat, into a, now we're going to break it the fuck down. Okay, cool. Now this part is the part that sounds like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then Tunks goes, okay. And then I go, Max, play that one more time. And I look at his fingers, and then through that, I know the root note, you know what I'm saying? Right. And then he's already taught it to Jacob, you know, so Jacob knows the song. So Max just taught everybody the song, you know what I'm saying? And then you have your songs. Yeah. Or another way it can start is like with Spellbook, you had these songs that you were writing for like 2 years, and you never thought that they would be songs that like an actual band would play. Right. Right. And I don't know what it was, like why you thought that. Maybe you didn't write it that way, or you just didn't think that it would ever happen. And I listened to him, and I listened to him, and I was like, these are cool. Yeah, let's do this. I think I was just bored at one point, and it was like a winter, and I was like, I just want to make like a winter soundtrack. Absolutely, but sometimes people do that. Like the hobbyist musician will write a record, and then it will never see the light of day. Besides like SoundCloud and like 4 of their friends like it, right? And then, but I was like, this is good. Let's do this. And you were like, what? How? Like how? Who plays drums? And I go, Tone, do you like this? And he goes, yep. Yeah. So then through that, we were just like, okay, so Dave's going to play bass, and Dave goes, so what do I play? And you show him, and then, you know, we were like, hey, we want somebody to play the fucking solos, and you rip a mean solo, and then it's like, okay, cool, we have Spellbook. Yeah. So that is like how that happens. Yeah. And I think people complicate it a lot, or second guess themselves, or have some idea that somebody's going to do something for them or something like that, but it literally is just like, just decide you're going to do something and do it. Just do it, yeah. And if someone asks you a question about it, either answer the question or figure out the answer to the question. Right. Yeah. I think my problem one thing I've been like working on a lot is like not judging something while you're making it. You know what I mean? Like just going with it, just doing it, like using your like intuition more than just like judging it as if somebody else is like listening to it or something. Like, you know, judging it, thinking about how somebody's gonna like receive it. You just kind of have to go with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, in many cases, yeah, and it definitely depends on the type of music you're doing. Because like, admittedly, if somebody's writing like Contrast wrote songs where we were doing it kind of together, where Max had a riff idea, but he didn't necessarily have a full fleshed out song. So he has this riff idea, and then we're like, what if we did this next? but we're kind of thinking about how it would be received because it's aggressive, and you're obviously kind of a little bit writing it so you can get some sort of reaction.
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. I guess that's a little bit different.
Where the stuff you're doing, I think, is a little bit harder to do because you're doing a little bit more experimental stuff. And sometimes you're like minimalizing things is good, and sometimes you really do want to over texturalize and do kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But the stuff you do, I think in some cases you do mill over it too much.
Certainly.
Yeah, because it's like just fucking just do it. Just like feel it and do it.
Yeah, I'll like send Dan something. I'm like, hey, is this real? Like, I'll think something's really cheesy or something. I'm like, is this really, really corny? And he was like, no. Like, this sounds like I love this.
In fact, it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Explain what you mean by that.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I don't know. It just sounds corny. And you're like, okay, why'd you write it? And you're like, well, I like it. I don't think it sounds corny. It's like, okay, well, then shut up. You know what I mean? Like, take your brain and shut it up. Because sometimes, you know what I mean? Because sometimes you will just like, for a reason that's like not even connected to music, it might be connected to your personality in general that had nothing to do with music. You know what I'm saying? Sorry to get like deep on you, but like that will affect the way that your like creative process works.
Yeah.
When it's like, dude, just who cares? Who cares if you're bullied in middle school? It's good. It's good music.
It's good fuel.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, just fucking do it.
It's on like corny music, that every time I hear something that like one of us has written, for like a split second, if it sounds corny, I'm like, oh, that's actually good. That's a good thing that is corny, because it's not really corny.
Yeah,
it's just it fits so well that you worry that you accidentally
made it too
you did like a cliche or something.
Yeah, well, and like corny, I hate the word corny. Yeah, people use it all the time, and it's like weird. What you're really thinking is, does this sound like something else?
Yeah,
that's kind of, and
that is your worry usually.
Yeah, it usually comes up whenever something's really good, because that's when you're like, I need to seal this in. Yeah. So I need to figure out whether or not someone's already done this exact
It can also be like, yo, does this sound like Chocolate Rain when I wanted it to sound like something completely different? Yeah, like that could be like the corny thing.
Just totally different genre type.
Yeah, but also, did this sound like a joke song that was just like a YouTube joke song?
Yeah, and with the experimental music, it's weird too, because there's so many different like styles within that too, that it's, and you're kind of like going into uncharted territory like anytime you're making a song. So it's I never want it to, I have a hard time finding like some kind of structure throughout my songs.
What I like to do,
they all sound like different genres to me, but other people probably don't listen to it that way. It still sounds like me.
Every time I listen to your music, I almost I like the fact that you don't use really basic song structure, because it's almost like intuitive for you as you're writing it to just do it like that, which I'm like, oh, that's kind of like a blessing.
That's cool.
In a way.
Cool. Makes me feel good.
What I have tried to do kind of in music, but in like really any, I think it has spilled over into like other facets of my life, is like when you write a paper, right, you brainstorm.
Yeah.
And you're talking about like the voice that you want in the paper, and your audience, like who you're writing the paper for, and all of that stuff. So it helps to kind of do that with any sort of creative process that you're doing. Like, hey, when I'm writing this song, what am I trying to get at? Is there an emotion I'm trying to get at? Is there, you know what I'm saying? And it helps inform the way that you do something, you know?
Yeah.
Which that could be how you're conversing with somebody, or how you write a song, or how you write a paper, or how you do a podcast,
right?
Or how you know what I mean,
right?
And I feel like a lot of people don't do that because they'll think that it's a process can be too freeform, you know. And you'll sit down at your Mac and you have your 49 key keyboard and you have 3,000 presets.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know. So you just go and do something else.
Yeah.
You know, if you sat down to write a book and you didn't think about how you wanted your chapters to go and you didn't structure it,
or even what the stories
you would be so incoherent and just not even, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like some structure is good, and it's good to sit down and figure out the limits of your creativity and like where you set the boundaries and stuff like that,
right,
to make stuff come out. Because I think sometimes people think that creativity is just like complete there's no limit to it, you know.
It's really something you got to practice.
That's true, yeah. But putting constraints on yourself is what I think brings about creativity.
Yeah, I agree.
Which you can literally be like deciding, hey, I'm only going to use these 3 pedals on this song, and what can I do with it?
Writing
or
within parameters that you set.
Yeah.
It kind of fuels some creative little sparks sometimes.
Yeah. And I think that's a little bit the key, because I think part of the reason why somebody might judge themselves too much or something like that is they're giving themselves, they're not limiting it enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. If I was writing a song that I was singing to like an audience that was listening to aggressive music, but I did it in a way where I was just like also including things that had nothing to do with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It opens it up to like, now it's being judged for like 7. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who a country artist is judging my hardcore. So it's like weird. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're not writing it for them, so it's good first and foremost to just be like, okay, well, let's pay attention to my audience. You know what I'm saying? Within this audience, who I don't know.
It's kind of it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah.
What's for you, like, what's your biggest, like, absolute biggest struggle when it comes to just like making something, like whether you're having a hard time doing it or like actually going and making something?
Maybe, like,
or
writer's
like,
block.
do you get into like those slumps? Like I get into that.
My biggest problem is the process involved in organizing if I sat down there and I had Omnisphere, which Omnisphere is like a program that has like 3,000 more than that.
There's more. Yeah, there's like
way more than that.
I think they're up to like 8,000.
Has like 8,000 presets, right? And every single one of them is incredible, and they're songs that just write themselves, right?
Yeah.
My biggest thing is literally making the fucking computer do what I want it to do, as far as like putting things in order and things cutting off and starting when they're supposed to. It's literally like
it's more
like
a technical side
software.
Of things.
Yeah,
Okay.
I hate it. So I'll sit down and I'll have these songs that are in my head that have been in my head for fucking years, and I think that they're good, and I played them for people and people liked them, but I can't record them myself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you kind of stuck with that.
No one will ever hear them because I can't fucking figure out how to do that. And it's not that I can't figure it out. I'm smart enough to do it. I don't want to. I hate it. I sit down to do it, and I go, this is not what I want to do, and this is pissing me off, and this is supposed to be something that is fun to do, and it's now not fun to do.
Yeah, it becomes like a job at that point, or like like school.
Not even like a job. A job is rewarding in some way.
Not getting paid at all.
It becomes just annoying. Like,
What was I going to say? Is that why you've gone towards more like analog stuff?
No, because I can't figure out that shit either. Because then you have a whole new set of problems. Like I know how to work analog gear.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I can have one synth communicate with another, and that one is communicating with another, and I can get them all to set up correctly, but you have like one preset on each of them. So if you want to change halfway through the song and do like a chorus part, you can't do it. Analog gear is very weird in that a lot of the time, the reason why songs like, okay, here's a drum part, and this drum part comes in and it'll go throughout the entire song, and here's my synth lead and here's my bass, and then halfway through the song we drop the bass and the synth lead out, and there's a little drum break, and then we bring everything back in and there's a chorus, but then you take one of the you know what I'm saying? It's additive and subtractive.
It's really kind of a recycling.
Yeah. That's how like analog gear is made. And then when you sit down, the cool thing about having all those presets is you can arrange things and have all these different presets where you don't have to, there's not the,
you don't have to keep using the same thing.
But the thing is, syncing up everything and then getting it to record into a DAW just, again, limits it, because now I have to figure out how the fucking DAW works. I don't know how to do it. Yeah. And I don't want to know how to do it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you ever want to record, man, you can just come over.
Yeah, I know. It's just...
I always like helping with that stuff.
Yeah.
We always come up with something cool, or you always do, and I always like it. It's fun.
But I don't know. I would say that's one of the bigger limiting factors for me.
Yeah.
Because,
for me, I get into like slumps where I just feel like what I'm doing is stupid or something. Like, does that ever
self-doubt?
Yeah, more like doubting myself too much. Like, this is just a waste of time.
If you ever feel that, just like send it to someone.
It's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
Because
Preferably someone that'll tell you if it sucks, which it never does. But on the off chance that it did, they'd be like,
or someone. Well, nothing's gonna suck, right? Because you're like not bad at music. You've like figured that out about yourself. It's like, well, I mean, I can't be totally bad at music.
Yeah.
So that's one thing.
I've like only recently figured that out.
Which is weird, but it's really weird. But that's one thing you want to consider is like nothing is bad, right?
Yeah.
So you send it to somebody who knows what they're talking about, and you say, okay, is there anything that you would do differently about this, or do you like this?
That's what I've been doing lately with Jimmy.
And then also,
Jimmy's
anytime you're second guessing yourself, realize that that's like in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of your mind just playing a trick on you.
Because if you think that you're wasting your time, then don't do it. But that's not what you want.
Right.
So your head is literally just like telling you that you shouldn't be doing something for no reason. You know?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Self-doubt's one of those things that like you can really easily work around it.
Yeah.
If you realize what it is and identify it.
Yeah, I've definitely identified it, and that's helped a lot. Like knowing like when it's happening, just like, oh, it's just like that thing.
Well, and you'll realize that you're down on yourself and it's completely like illogical, because you could argue with yourself, right? Because you go, this is pointless, I'm stupid and I make bad music. And then you go, well, do I want to be making music?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, well then have people liked my music before? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I'm going to continue doing it, and people like it, and maybe I have something that's bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That could be the case with literally anything, but yeah.
I think my biggest thing is confirmation, like getting that, or like validation from other people too. Just hearing that somebody likes it helps a lot, because, I mean...
Yeah, it just feels good
and if it's, especially if it's somebody who isn't like obligated to say that, because... I think most of the time, if people don't like something, they're just not really going to say too much about it.
I'd say most normal people are like that, yeah. But also it's hard because, like we talked about in the last thing, music doesn't make sense to a lot of people. Like, their brains aren't wired to understand differences in music. So, like, if you just created something that was complicated and seemed difficult, somebody might be like, yeah, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? But they're not understanding, like, hey, that note wasn't in the key you were going for. And also, hey, this transition is strange, and it would hit a lot harder if you cut the lead out of there and you just let the bass and the drums rock. And when it goes back into it, you add cross sidechain compression.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's jargon that I'm throwing out. But, like...
Yeah, that's like not super important to what you're talking about, like the jargon.
Yeah, but some random person isn't gonna just be like, yeah, you should, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you should hit that side chain harder, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But somebody wanted me to ask you, whenever you're finding new bands and trying to find new music or whatever, is it usually like a visual thing for you, like artwork from a band that gets you to listen to them, or is it like people that you know that are in the band?
Okay, so that's difficult because it can change all of the time. Like when I was younger and I was looking at bands on MySpace, you would go to a band's page and you would look at their top friends, and I would click on bands that had cool names. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right now, what I do, depending on the genre of music, like if it's a hardcore band, right, you're looking at, are those dudes in any other bands? What bands are they in? Where are they from? Who do they sound like? You'll see FFO a lot, which means for fans of, and they'll usually give you 2 or 3 other bands that band is influenced by or trying to sound like. And you can usually kind of make an informed decision before you even listen to somebody. That being said, that only applies to like a certain sect of music. So the other thing that you can do is, like, Apple Music or Spotify are really good at doing related artists.
Yeah.
So literally just go through related artists. Album art usually doesn't have a ton to do with it. But if I'm going through related artists and it's music that I'm like I don't usually listen to or something, I might rely more on that.
Yeah.
Mixed with the name of the band. But that's if I'm like deep diving. You know, I feel like generally the way I'm finding out about new bands is someone's talking about it or tweeting about it or telling me to look it up or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes with the artwork, though, it can like turn me off. Even like if that's like the first thing I see before ever even like hearing the band or something, it kind of can like throw me off a little bit.
If I see a band that had like a hardcore band that has like a really fucking crazy name and the artwork is cool, like I'm more liable to check it out. Yeah. but also there are bands that have like really horrible artwork, and it doesn't matter. I don't know. Artwork is weird, and matters now, I think, more than it has in the past, because like if you go to H&M or Forever 21 right now, there are shirts that are, I don't know if it's happening as much anymore, but are ripping off like death metal fonts.
Oh.
And death metal logos. And people are wearing like Metallica shirts, or like shirts similar to that, you know what I'm saying? And they haven't ever listened to Metallica, or they haven't ever listened to Led Zeppelin, or
you see like a Pantera shirt, and it's like kind of, it's like a belly shirt that some girls wear.
Yeah, it's like
tied at the bottom.
It's cropped, and then they don't even listen to Pantera really, or maybe they do, but they listen to Walk. They heard Walk one time at Whiskey Tango.
They were at a Chiefs game or something.
Yeah. Which is like fine, you know, because people can wear whatever they want, but that the art thing is way more important than surface level, or way less important than surface level than I think it ever has been, because now things will be like more of a fashion statement than they will be an actual. But that can lead a band to like super success. I don't know, but that's what leads me to not care about art quite as much.
Gotcha. Another like viewer question that I had was, it kind of goes along with that.
Okay.
They asked how you feel when you like hear a song that you really, really like from a band or whatever. It's like the first time you've ever heard them, and then you see them live, or you see them perform, and their image, or like their I guess they're kind of like unappealing or something, like whether they present themselves in like an unappealing way, or like based on just like just kind of their brand or something. Does that like, how does that make you feel?
So that's a tough one.
Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. I have experienced that too.
Mm-hmm. But it kind of depends on how unappealing we're talking. Like, are they like kind of drunk and being annoying on stage, or is there like a big macro level like personal traits that are like fucked up about them that like completely, you know what I'm saying? Because there are like gauges to it. Like Pine Grove, one of my favorite bands, I saw them and they were just mixed kind of bad and playing super quiet.
Yeah.
So that didn't make me like Pine Grove less, but now I was like, well, I don't really need to see them again.
Yeah, you wouldn't go if they came back.
I mean, I would go for sure, but it's like this didn't. Like, I'm really glad I didn't bring somebody who had never heard them before.
Right.
They might not have. And there were people there that loved the show. You know what I'm saying? But I mean.
Yeah, because there's something to be said about it too. Like, oh, it was intimate or something. You know.
Yeah. Or like Alex G, though. I love Alex G, and then I saw him live, and it was like one of the best shows I've ever been to. And that made me like him more.
Yeah.
You know? So I think there's something to be, like, if you like the music, I am less concerned with what's going on live. You know what I mean? But I'm not a person who completely idolizes artists.
Other people probably in general, yeah.
Yeah, other people in general, but also like artists. So like, because I've met artists that like, oh, well, that guy was an asshole. But it's like, duh, I mean, why did I...
They're just people.
Yeah, I didn't really consider him being cool because he was just, you know what I mean?
Right.
If you just didn't think about it like that, it'd be fine.
Yeah. Would it stop you from like certain thing, if it was like a personality thing or something, would it stop you from like continuing to listen to the band, do you think?
It depends. There are like Brand New recently. There are people that love Brand New, and Jesse Lacey was like accused of.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And was never really a Brand New fan. I don't like to listen to Brand New, really. There are Brand New songs that are cool.
It's fine. Just go with it.
Yeah. There are Brand New songs that are cool, but I have never really been a Brand New listener, right? And there are people that was like a favorite, like, seminal band to them, and they just, like, can't listen to Brand New now.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. Like, Antonio, I was talking to Antonio about it, and the way he described it to me is like, you just have to, and he doesn't like Brand New or anything, but he was telling me that like, you just have to be able to defend your choice, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Because some people hear that and they can't even associate with that band anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Like burning all their merch and stuff.
Yeah, which is like fine, you know. But some people, if they were like, yeah, I heard about the stuff, you know, I heard about the story, I heard about all sides of it, and I think I can still stomach listening to Brand New, and it's fine. And there are some people that would like crucify those people.
Yeah.
You know, you're an apologist. But at the same time, it's like, I don't really care if as long as you are fine with taking on whatever weight comes with that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What did they do? I actually don't know.
I think
what was he accused of?
He was married to somebody, but he was also soliciting nudes from like a minor.
Oh.
Was this like allegedly, or
I didn't know it had to do with a minor.
I think it was for sure, but it was like both. It was like there was correspondence back and forth, but still it was a minor. So I'm not like saying it was fine, but that's what was happening.
Shitty.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously like there's a clear.
It's bad. Yeah. It's bad, but I think that
it's also really complicated. On top of being
it's
bad.
not. Yeah, it's not simple.
I don't really.
I was just curious. We don't need to get into that.
Yeah.
We can just stay away from that.
But that type of stuff happens all the time because there are like people that are like.
None of us have really strong opinions though, so that's good. You know what I mean? Nobody has a really strong opinion that's really
defending anything
abrasive.
Yeah, I'm just not going to touch that hot potato.
I don't want none of it.
I don't. Yeah, but there are like all kinds of bands that are like that people will take a strong decision or take a strong stance on, and that for some people it can be like that potato's too hot. Like I don't even want to fuck with that.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, some people are like, he did nothing wrong.
Right.
It's like, okay, dude, as long as you can sleep at night, I guess that's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'd say about that.
Yeah. What have you been like? We went through like last time we went through your recent plays and stuff. What have you been on? Because this is like my favorite part, and I think several other people wanted to hear. Like they got really good recommendations from you last time.
Can I go through my phone?
I don't care. It's not like there's not like rules really.
I didn't think so, but
as long as you're not. I mean,
just give me a second.
Main thing is I didn't want the phone to like ring. So
the new Drake song "Rules." It's called God's Plan.
Okay.
I'm sure everyone on this will eventually be all over that song, but it rocks, and I'm going to get ahead of the curve. It came out a couple days ago.
Let's get it on paper right now.
Narrowhead.
I've heard of Narrowhead. I need to check them out.
Narrowhead, they sound kind of like, I don't even know say what they sound like. They're good. They released a new song called Bulma, but they have 2 records before that are really good that everybody should listen to. There's a band called Bug, B-U-G-G. It has a record out on Popwig that's really good. Tyler Childers, he's like a country music, kind of folky, I guess I would say, but kind of twangy.
Okay,
it's really cool. I'm just gonna keep going.
Keep going.
Jid J.I.D is a really cool rapper.
Okay.
The song Never. Listen to the song Never, and that will make you like Jid for sure. If you listen to MF Doom, okay, he's a rapper.
I've heard of him.
He's really fucking good.
Is he the one that wears
the mask? Dr. Doom mask.
Yeah.
So Mansions is cool. Been listening to Mansions again. People who listen to this might not have listened to Mansions, but you should do it. There's a record called Dig Up the Dead.
Yeah.
That you should listen to.
God. Such a depressing album.
Yeah. Speaking of depressing albums, have you ever heard of John Galm? Galm.
Yes.
Okay. Listen to
isn't that the guy that does Passion Flower?
No, I think it's this different dude, isn't it? You remember that guy that plays like acoustic guitar?
And he uses tuning knobs while he's playing.
It kind of hits.
I'm thinking of John Galm.
John Galm?
Yeah, I'm talking about John Galm.
Galm.
And there's a song called 3,500 Days that's really good. That is a good intro to John Galm. Brockhampton, which is really popular right now. Listen to, I think, I don't remember what the fuck it's called. Star.
Okay.
If you like kind of a little bit heavier stuff, there's a band called Spirit Adrift that a guy I know Chase is in. Mm-hmm. He sings in, I think he plays drums in Spirit Adrift, and he sings in a band called Gate Creeper. So it is they're just like a heavy, like doomy type band. Mm-hmm. And he sings in Gate Creeper, which is like a death metal band. It's really fucking cool. Do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, I don't care. There's people that told me after the old when we did on the old show that like they're like, yeah, I listen to like Alex G like every day now.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Alex G rocks.
Yeah. And I'll go back to this, and I know, like Connor, we went through all those songs on New Year's.
Yeah,
He was like, I know how like normally people will say like I'm actually gonna check this out.
Yeah.
But like I'm actually gonna go home and like look this up and
cool.
That's like my favorite shit. Also,
that's what I did after the last one we did.
If there's anyone on here that or watching this that like wants suggestions but doesn't want to wait until like I do this again or something. Like, literally message me on something, and I will just shoot shit at you.
What have you been listening to? Because you want people... I'm going to know when I find something new, I want to tell people.
Some people are really weird, and, like, they're very possessive of the music that they like, because they in some way attribute it with, like, how cool they are. You know what I'm saying? I think music is something that is to be shared. For sure. Like, for sure. Like, yo, if this has an impact on me, and it's a positive one or a negative one or whatever, I want it to have an impact on you, because it fucking rocks, and it could change the world. Yeah. Do you listen to Pedro the Lion?
Not since I worked with you.
Okay. Pedro the Lion fucking rocks. Pine Grove rocks. Obviously, I don't think I talked about Pine Grove last time, but I'm going to talk about it this time.
Pine Grove's
watch
awesome.
them.
Jimmy
yeah,
likes
we're all
Pine Grove a lot.
big Pine Grove fans here.
Yeah. Have you ever? Oh fuck. I'm literally just like trying to fly through this and like find something because there's so much on here. Have you ever listened to Run Forever?
No.
Okay, Run Forever is really good. They're pretty sad.
Okay.
They have a record called it's the self-titled record, but they also have a record called Settling. Both of those are good. I think that might be it for a second, just because I don't want to waste any more time.
That's okay. You're fine, dude. I have something really, really random that somebody asked me.
It's fine.
You want to go with it?
Sure. Who asked it?
My sister.
Okay, fine.
She wanted to know what your favorite baby animal is.
Oh. That's a good one.
We just want to get to know you as a person, too. Not just as a musician.
Yeah. Okay, so that's, like, hard. Because I haven't met, like, a ton of baby animals.
You don't have to have met them.
No, I know, but I feel like that's more important.
It could be the type. I think it could either be the type of animal, too.
Dude, Fiona rocks.
Fiona?
She's a hippo at the Cincinnati Zoo.
Oh, okay.
If you haven't looked up Fiona, fucking do it.
Okay.
They like... I'm sure most people watching this have heard of Fiona, so it's crazy that you haven't. But they have...
I've never heard of it.
She's a baby hippopotamus.
Okay.
And they have been following her progress of her being born all throughout her life, and there's like tons of videos on it. There is a baby cow named James that was raised as a dog because its mom didn't want it, so James the cow puppy.
Oh, okay.
James is pretty cool. I really like dogs, so just like puppies are cool.
Yeah.
Always.
I have a really weird
Kevin's.
I have a really weird connection with dogs. Yeah.
Kevin's.
Yeah. Tell Jessica that baby dogs named Kevin are my favorite. Yeah, I call all baby dogs.
She's gonna listen to this too. She's She's like our number one fan.
An OG.
Yeah.
OG podcast head.
Kevin's are just any animal, really.
Yeah, I don't remember at what point in my life I determined that was what I was going to call baby animals, but any cute thing is Kevin.
Good to know. Yeah. So yeah, there's that.
Is there any other off-the-wall questions?
No, that was the only one.
Okay.
I know. It's really hard to get people to... I don't know, maybe as we go with this, though, it'll be a little bit easier, because once we have you on a couple times, like, maybe they'll get to know more about you, and then...
Do you have, just off the top of your head, any off-the-wall question? Because I'm hoping that, like, not only people want to hear me ask questions, but also realize that I will answer literally fucking anything. It does not matter. You know what I'm saying?
I don't have a... It could be about literally anything.
Literally anything.
I don't know. Let's call it a night. I want to give a special thank you to David Chavez, my sister, and Connor Kennedy for submitting questions. That was really cool.
Which one did Dave ask?
David was asking you about like the more like the image. Like he was asking, what is it? What is it that gets you to listen to an album? Okay. He had that. I like texted him. I was like, dude, I need help.
Yeah.
Because we've gotten two. One is about baby like animals.
Yeah.
And the one Connor asked was the one asking about like your challenges or whatever.
Dude, that's cool, Dave.
Yeah.
Dave.
So I texted him and he had some really good stuff. He had that, and then he also like added the like how do you feel when you hear a good song, and then find out later something about the band or like a weird image thing or something happens.
Dude, that is a good question. Okay.
That's a pretty good question.
Well, yeah, and I know specifically some of the stuff that he's talking about. So
there's like some roots to that somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of roots to that. Yeah.
I'm sure you guys experience stuff like that a lot.
All the time. Yeah.
But yeah, just wanted to thank those people because that helped a lot because I was kind of freaking out. Got to the last minute and nobody had really been on it. Connor had to text me because he doesn't have a Facebook. I sent him like a screenshot of the post and was like, "Hey, you need to like at least look at this." But yeah, so thank you to those people. Thank you for
thanks for coming on,
Of
dude.
course, I love it.
Anytime, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And if somebody wants to come out to a show, what's the best thing they can do to like keep up with this stuff? Like add you on, like follow you on Twitter or
so you can follow me on Twitter. You could you could hit me up on Facebook and I'll show you who to add, because Jaded Westfall is usually the one who is promoting all the shows and he books all of the shows.
Right.
He like pulls a lot of the weight as far as that goes. So anyone who follows him is going to see him post all of the shows that are coming up, and he goes to and books like all of the shows in the area. Also, you could follow Aaron Rhodes and the Shuttlecock music blog, and he has a cool thing that he does every week where he will post like upcoming shows of the week, and he won't just do he won't just do small shows, he'll do big shows too. So like if you are out of the loop and don't realize that cool rappers all the time are in Lawrence on like every day of the week, like you could go see fucking Ugly God or Gucci Mane or something like that, not necessarily at the Sprint Center but at like the Granada, you know what I'm saying? He's the guy who will like give you a rundown of that, you know what I'm saying? And he'll post like where to buy tickets and do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Cool.
So that is what I would say to do if you want to be more into music.
Cool.
Yeah,
and then we'll put your like tag at the bottom, like your Twitter handle or whatever, and
cool.
It'll be cool. All right, thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, of course.